This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West Podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
And welcome back to the Hockeytown West Podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
I'm Nick.
I'm Travis.
We are joined by the boys from Hockeytown Rundown today to go into the Grand Rapids Griffins roster. Probably a too early prediction to make, but we're going to have some fun with this one today. We got Zach and Derek on. Derek, how are you doing today, man?
Oh, bro, I'm doing great. My girlfriend hasn't killed me yet because I am now on my second recording of the day, so I think I'm doing good. I guess I should say fiance because she might be listening to me right now, and I might get scattered for that too. I don't know.
Yes, you probably should say that, and congrats on that, by the way. That's fantastic. And yeah, it's good she hasn't killed you yet. We needed you for this one. And Zach, how are you doing, man?
Doing well, but his now fiance also texted me, stop taking him away from her. So I'm also slightly in trouble here, boys, but I'm doing really well. Kind of slightly dealing with somewhat of a hangover. I had a wedding last night to go to, but overall I'm doing really well. Really excited to get going on this and see how the Grand Rapids Griffins lineup's going to shape up, and ultimately hopefully it lets us know how the Red Wings roster will look like too. So thanks for having us once again. We definitely appreciate it, boys.
Yeah, it's always good to get together with you guys. And for everyone listening, where can everyone find your show before we jump in?
Yeah, for sure. Derek doesn't have his handle down there. He's a part-timer on Twitter for a little bit, but you can find me at Zach Trath and Hockeytown Rundown HTRD. And then for us, you can find us on Twitter or all social media. It's basically at Hockeytown Rundown. We're also on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube as well. So yeah, there's us. And we are doing just one quick more thing. We are doing a giveaway if we reach 1,000 subscribers or Twitter followers. So help us reach that, and then we will announce our giveaway. So we definitely appreciate that as well.
That's awesome. You guys are getting close on that one too. It should happen hopefully before the end of this month, I'd hope. So
that's the goal that
nice.
We're trying to get these people to do, so we can give them away more free stuff. That's the goal. So let's see it, everyone.
Yeah, definitely. If you're not following the boys, make sure you head over there and do that and then get entered into that giveaway. That'll be fun. But let's dive into this Grand Rapids Griffins roster because this could go a lot of different directions. And like you said, will kind of give us the landscape of what the Red Wings roster could potentially look like too. And this is just our opinion. We have no concrete evidence to go off of here. We're just going to give you our total thoughts and what we hope to see potentially happen in Grand Rapids. So I guess, boys, let's start with the first line forwards. So I'm going to go to Zach first. Zach, kind of what are you thinking left wing? Who's starting in Grand Rapids this year?
Oh boy, yeah, this is where it's so interesting because you look at some of the new players that they've brought in that haven't been on the team yet, like Snively, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Nate Dogg Danielson really is somewhat newer to the team too. I know that he's played a couple playoff games for them. For the left wing, I would have to go with either, Snively or at least Carter Mazur. For me, I think Carter Mazur would be a good person to put up there with that right-handed shot. I know that he's played left wing before, so that would probably be my pick personally.
All right, let's go to Nick here.
I was going to go with Carter Mazur. I think he's probably going to be one of the first call-ups for Grand Rapids or for Detroit this year from Grand Rapids. I don't think there's room on it for him on the team for Detroit right now, so I'm going to put him as the top left wing, replacing. He played a majority of that this year for the Griffins this year already, so that's where I'm putting him. But I like the Snively take because he is a very good left winger.
Yeah, he's a pretty fantastic player. We're excited to have him on our team. Derek, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm not very different from the rest of them. I'd probably go with one of the leading point scorers from last year with Carter Mazur up top because, like you guys said, he's probably the most likely to be the next one to get that call-up. So he did really well last year, and I anticipate him to do the exact same or better this year. So,
yeah. Trav, you in agreement as well?
I guess it just depends what side they want him to play on. They want to play on a strong side or on his weak side. I would say, personally, for me, I'd put Mazur on the right side, but that's just me. Unless you want him to play on the off wing, I would have said Snively, but I can see Mazur as well.
I think we're all kind of in agreement here that that's going to be the two wingers on the top line. I think that's what I've gathered already, is that's going to be our two top wingers. I do agree with putting him on his strong side, though. I think he played a lot more right wing last season, and he was more successful on the right wing. The games that he was shifted over to left wing is kind of the games where you saw him get really quiet. It kind of just felt like he was out of place a little bit there. You'd think you'd want him on that side with the right side shot, but a right-handed shot. I do like him on the right wing there. So I think Snively and Mazur are just the top wingers automatically.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sorry for butting in here, but based on even these names on the list, the Grand Rapids Griffins, it doesn't really look like that they have too many right-handed shooters, right? Or am I wrong in by saying that, Brandon, Nick, anyone, Travis?
So when we looked at it on the defensive side, they do. On the offensive side, it's kind of it's a shorter mix of right wingers or right-handed shots there. So defense, they got right-handed shots. Forwards, I think, yeah, the limited amount, you got to put them up top on the right wing.
It's Snively shoots left, so I mean that makes sense to put him on the left wing and Mason on the right.
Yeah.
Biggest thing I can say too, having played, it's definitely easier when you're on your strong side in the defensive end, because when you're catching a breakout pass, you're on your forehand versus being on your backhand. I played on the off wing, so it wasn't always my favorite thing, but offensively it was fun because you're coming down, and if you cut to the middle, you have the puck on your forehand versus when you're on your strong side. If you go to cut to the middle, it's on your backhand. But I think just for keeping it on the strong side, I think that's probably the better option.
Now, the question I want to throw at the rundown boys here is, does Carter Mazur skip this step? Is he on the Red Wings roster opening night?
I'm going to go with not opening night, but I feel like it's going to be a short amount of time before they start swapping out that bottom line with a lot of players from Grand Rapids. So I wouldn't get too used to him being on the top line here.
It's a hard one for us to accept that he won't be here, but you know.
Yeah, I think personally for me, I'd much rather see him getting the top line minutes here with GRG and facing the tough opponents, right? Instead of being on the fourth line or even in the press box, right? If it's not every night, it's every other night, right? And he has to beat out players like Tyler Mott. You can even say Jonathan Berger, and I think Christian Fisher's a lock, but at that point he would have to basically beat those two out of a spot. So at the start, no, but I do think that there will be opportunities for him to make the jump at some point during the season.
All right. Well, now who's going to play center on the top line, though, for the Griffins? This is a tough one here. So I'm going to throw that question first to Travis. Travis, who'd you have?
I would put Marco there personally, just until Nate gets his feet underneath him. Nate had an awesome camp last year, so there's nothing to say that, he couldn't go in and win a job in Detroit. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I think it's more likely he's in Grand Rapids. But just because he's got a year pro underneath his belt at the American League level, I would put Marco at center.
Zach?
I would have to agree. And it also, to kind of speak on this, going a little outside of it, it really just depends how you want the first two top lines to look, right? Are you expecting your first line to be go hunting and like just trying to outpace and outscore everyone, and then your second line being more of like a shutdown line? I think Nate Dogg can really do a really good job at that. So putting him at the 2C makes sense, but I like how Travis put it. Let him get his feet wet a little bit. Yeah, you got to play in some playoff games, but let him get a little more acclimated and then just kind of go from there. And maybe we see them swap, right? Casper with Danielson every once in a while, depending on the matchups of the teams that they go against. So, but for now, I'm putting Casper up there.
Derek?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Casper too on this one, just because what everyone else said, Nate needs a little bit more time to get his feet wet. I think that's a good way to go about it. I do see what Zach's saying. I feel like it's going to be a swap back and forth, really just finding who is probably better paired with who on each line. I feel like our 1 and 2 are already very similar lines for the Grand Rapids Griffins, especially with the productivity from each one. I feel like it's just who fits better where, because you surround Nate Dogg by a bunch of people who could score. I think that's going to produce a lot better than someone who's just a natural goal scorer being up on the top line. So hit or miss, really. I think there is going to swap out quite a bit, but I think Marco is going to be the top center for Griffins starting off the year.
What about you, Nick? What do you got? I see you smiling over there.
I'm going off the board. Yeah, I understand the points. I see what you guys are saying with Marco being the top, just because he played here last year, and Marco wasn't the first line center over here. He was usually second because we had Sarnik over here, who was usually taking that top spot. And when Sarnik was gone, it was Marco for a little bit. But I feel like you're gonna put Nate Danielson in that first line center, and the reason is because when he translates to the NHL, he's going to be the second line center. He's going to be going up against those top matchups. Marco, I don't think Marco's going to be a 1C or a 2C. I think he's more of a 3C. So I think in this scenario, you put Marco 2C, you put Nate 1C, and they're going to be interchangeable throughout the year. But I mean, I could see them ending the season that route. I could see them starting the season with Marco, but I would make a case for Nate because he's going to be the 1C. That's who you want to see.
Brandon, real quick, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. How did Marco Kasper do in the faceoff circle overall?
Man, I wish we knew that, but the AHL refuses to share faceoff statistics, apparently. It depends on the team. Not every team has a statistician keeping track of that, and the Griffins, I believe, are not one of them. So,
okay.
It's we see face-off stats occasionally. Like you'll see when they go to play in Chicago, you'll see face-off stats and you're like, oh, cool, I got a quick update finally for the season. But yeah, no clue. From the eye test from us, did okay. I mean, no center on this team really did fantastic in face-offs last year. Zarnik was one that we could count on to be money every single time. But I do like Nick's perspective on that because you want Nate playing those minutes. I have the off-the-cuff perspective that Nate's not going to be a first or second line center to start the season in Grand Rapids. I think he'll be the third line center, but that's just me, just based on the couple games we saw in the playoffs last year. That's me being really judgy after those couple games, though. Very judgy. So
I see where you're coming from too. I mean, and depending on who we put on that third line, if we were to put Nate Dogg there as the 3C, he could be the main line driver for that line too, right? The one who can do it all. So I like the thought process behind that for sure.
Yeah, just seeing like how Dan Watson's kind of started his teams and see how people move up the lineup and how they have to earn that spot. I could definitely see that. I could see someone like a Sheldon Dries ending up in the second C or even 1C with his skill set too. But I think the overall consensus, if Kasper is a Griffin at the beginning of the season, which I think we all think he is, even though I think that's the one player that could make the jump over everybody else in the team currently, Kasper probably is the opening night 1C. But now the second line is where it gets interesting.
This is where I think ideas are going to go off the wall.
Wait, should we finish with the defenseman, or should we start with the first line D?
Do you want to do first pairing defenseman to match it up with them?
I might as well.
All right, I like that.
Slam dunk.
Yeah. So, Nick, you had the idea. Present it.
Oh shit! All right. Our lefty for first line is going to be William Vollender. That's who I'm putting there.
Okay. Zach, can you head in agreement?
I concur.
Ooh.
Nick, you had more to add?
I just think with the way he's going to be activated this year, and with Waddy giving him a huge vote of confidence when we interviewed Waddy a couple weeks ago, I think that's the guy that's going to make the next step. I could listen for cases on other players at the time, but I think it's going to be Volley, and I hope it's Volley, to be honest.
Does anybody here have a case for anybody else?
Not on the side.
My round pick might have been Johansson being up there on the top, but that's more so because of his leadership skills in the locker room from what I've heard from other people and recordings and interviews on the team. Not bad production either, but... No,
not bad. No, obviously, Albert, if he's on the Griffins roster, is your top D-man up there, but I don't believe he will be. And someone has to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert in this. But if he's coming back to Grand Rapids this season, he has to clear waivers.
That is correct. He essentially has to be on the Detroit Red Wings roster this season. However, there could be an opportunity where it might happen. Who knows? Based on the way that the roster is constructed for the Red Wings. I mean, we'll talk about that in a future episode with you guys for us. But based on the way it's constructed, there could be a very good chance of that, but I don't foresee Johansson being here. So I would put Willie Wally right there for sure.
Yep. Yeah, because Johansson's not clearing waivers. No way. No chance.
No. Let's be real. No, he's not. Someone would take him for sure.
Then on the right side, I'm pretty sure it's a slam dunk as well. But what do we got here? Sorry, Travis, go ahead.
2-0 all day.
Everybody in agreement, say aye.
Well, his partner for the year was Josiah Didier, so we could.
Who's part? Wally's partner for the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, the captain could. No, it's two of me still. It's two of me still. He had an incredible year, and he was another guy that Dan Watson said, he's gonna have an incredible year. And when they put him in the lineup after his injury in Toledo, Dan said it was hard to take him out, and then he found his way to the top pairing there with Simon Edvinsson for most of the season. So he learned a lot last year. He's really solid, and if he continues to work on his skating, which I think is probably his biggest weakness, but it's really minimal weakness that he has. But if he continues to work on that, he's going to be unstoppable this year. And as long as he keeps his kill level down, because when he gets hit, he immediately focuses on that guy that hit him, and I'm going to go kill him attitude, which I do love. And as long as his slap shots start hitting the net, that'll help too.
Yeah, I firmly believe too. I mean, I know, there was that weird situation where he was playing in college, then went back to, I believe it was Finland. That's where he's from. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then making his way back to North America. I know, at least for myself, I was like, okay, this is almost like a lost prospect. But you put it really nicely, Brandon, that he showcased himself, and I'm really happy that he came around again. And I really do firmly believe that he could be a really good, serviceable 7th or 6th defenseman for the Red Wings in the future, for sure.
Yeah, he does have that potential, and you are correct. He did go play in Finland. You had that right. Cool. But yeah, all right. Second line forwards here. This is where this episode goes off the rails, and I apologize in advance. But let's start with the wingers. Who do we have? Because I don't want to, let's just say wingers. We don't need to decide left wing, right wing at this moment. Who are going to be the wingers on this line? I'm going to go to Zach first.
I really want to put Rykovsky up there, but I also don't think Dries is going to play center. I think he's going to play wing, to be honest. I kind of want to put those two up there.
Ooh, that's one I didn't even put together, like in my head.
I think
you,
yeah.
Elaborate more into why.
Yeah, sorry. Just based on the names, and you look at them, they have a lot of players that can play center, right? At least that's how they're listed, right? And so, and that's going to shift, right? Probably based on matchups, probably based on teams that you're playing against. But I would put Dries on the wing. He's a former Bronco, so shout out to him. I graduated from Western, Derek as well. But yeah, I think I like Rykovsky up there, and then I would definitely put Dries up there probably on the second line. Those are my two picks.
I like that. I mean, 52 points in 55 games last year with Abbotsford. It's pretty hard to argue with production. He's a fantastic player, one that we were really excited about when he signed. But I want to hear Derek's opinion on these wingers up here. Is he kind of thinking the same thing, or are we going off the books here?
I was definitely thinking Dries being in second line for sure. He's a little older, but still the production he had for the Canucks AHL team last year was pretty. He was almost a point per game player still, so can't really argue putting him on the second line.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
I'm going to think of who would be a good person to pair up there. I mean, I wasn't thinking the way Zach was, but after he said it, I actually liked it putting Slavkovsky up there. I was like, that's actually not a bad pairing. So thanks, Zach. You actually changed my mind real quick on that one.
And just to differ from Derek a little bit before you go off, Brandon, I could make the argument. It might not be a really good argument, but I could make the argument for maybe someone like Elmer Soderblom just for the pure size of it.
Literally.
Literally. Yeah. Well, before I go off, let's hear Nick's thoughts here on this line.
I'm signing off on Jacob, Mr. Rykovsky, however you want to pronounce that one. Well, I'm good with putting him left winger just because he shoots left. I know you said you didn't care about what side, but yeah. I was thinking him. And the Dries argument I was questioning because I wanted to know where you were trying to put him based off our last line, Brandon, because you were like, I don't know, you kind of were like, that's not where I was thinking Dries was going to be with Nate and Casper. So I didn't know if you were putting him in that second C spot where I was.
Well, that's kind of where I had him in that second C, thinking Nate would be a third C to start the season and having to earn that spot. But I like I like the Richarlison. We're gonna all butcher this.
We're
Guy's
gonna put
name.
Jacob
I feel
there.
so bad, but we're gonna put him on there for sure.
Jacob,
Jacob's
yeah.
there.
And I'm thinking
think-
Mr. Gettinger for the other winger.
I like that
Ooh.
too. Yeah.
That's a big boy.
Ooh, that's a big boy. Trav, what are you thinking over there?
So I guess it kind of depends where Nate goes. Personally, I would love to see Dries in between Elmer and Rychlovsky myself. Add some veteran presence with with a young prospect making his way to the American League. And then with Elmer, I mean, you guys seen it firsthand last year when there were points where Elmer was dominant when he wasn't sick. And I mean, if you have that Elmer for, the entirety of a season, and you can put him with somebody like Dries that can distribute the puck well from the middle, and then you have a young player, you got somebody to kind of mentor him in the middle, and then you have a guy that's also played 2 years pro on American sized ice. So I think that's kind of where I was thinking, but I don't really hate any of the other takes either.
Such a complicated line because Elmer in my eyes was like a guaranteed second line just based on how Dan spoke on him and like what he was able to do last year. I felt like we finally saw the AHL coming out party for Elmer Soderblom that we saw in the NHL in his first game, in his first few games, and he came to the AHL and could not get his feet under him again. And this season you didn't really know what to expect, but when he came out aggressive and was out there playing his style of hockey, he was unstoppable and looked like he was having fun doing it. When in the first year in Grand Rapids, he looked kind of miserable. But oh man, I think we're all in agreement at least that Richalski, Jacob, whatever, he's going to be on the second line, correct?
Yeah,
I see that.
Yeah.
All right, and we're putting him at left wing because that is his position. We're going to agree that Dries is on this second line, correct?
Yeah.
as a
I
center
I still think he's the center.
over Nate.
100. Yeah,
I could
opening
see it
night.
to start. I could see it to start.
Okay,
I mean,
I'll sign off on it.
Majority rules.
Thank you.
He's in the center.
thank you for your signature of approval, Nick. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
That right wing, though, what are we going to agree on here?
Ooh.
I could see Gettinger just because,
Gettinger played left wing all last season.
yeah, that's where I'm kind of like, I could also see them putting Elmer. I don't think that anybody of Shine, Seager, or Hunter fit a top six role at this moment. I mean, Shine could, but I think he's more of a bottom six guy for the role he plays, the style he plays. But I think Elmer personally.
I'm good with Elmer if everyone else is. You brought up Shiner, and I almost brought him up too because he was fifth in points on the entire team last season.
Yeah, I mean,
Man,
on
you're
that
just taking
note,
away the giant line I want for the third line. I wanted to be an average of 6'5" and up. That's what I was thinking for the third line. Just put terror into anybody who went up against them.
What was your third line? You're thinking like a Gettinger, Elmer, and
It's got to be Nate.
yeah.
No, there was some, but who was it? Let me find it. I got like 5 seconds here. I'll pull them up. Oh, Seager. That's who it was.
Yeah,
Throw him at center. Got two wings that are massive. Oh,
Do you like where your head's at there? All right, let's pick this right wing. Who is it going to be?
I've stated my case.
I think it's
I feel
Elmer.
like we
I
gotta
think
break
it
up
just
the
makes
massive line.
I think it makes most sense for the organization overall, not just for Grand Rapids, but for the Detroit Red Wings. I think that they still do have hope in him, and just by starting him there, right? This is just what we're projecting, right? Like opening night, I think that this could work out. However, if it doesn't, then obviously you can just push him down, right? So, but I think the organization wants him to succeed, just much like any other player, and that's no knack at any of these other players. But I do think Elmer, based on this list, probably is the most appropriate player to put there currently right now.
All right, I like it. I like the argument, and I like the player, so I'm going to go with it. Second pairing defenseman. This gets a little interesting too. This is a lot different from last year. A lot different. I'm going to go over to Zach on this one first.
It's so hard because I look at like Bouillon, the guy who won 2 national championships, and then you got someone like Vero who has been with the team. So that's where it's tough for me to kind of decide. And then you look at someone like Lagesson. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm going to butcher that, I'm sure, a couple times here. And he's an older player that can definitely be serviceable. I think between it, I think it's either Bouillon or Lagesson, but I think I'm going to lean with Lagesson only because he has a little more experience than anyone else. And that kind of goes against everything I said with the whole Elmer thing. But I think that this can also be an interchangeable situation here, but I guess I'm going to lean on Lagesson.
Do we think Lagesson will be in Grand Rapids next year too? Is the other question.
Yeah,
that's
the
toughest part, because there are guys in this list that might not. There's guys that might be in Toledo. There's guys that might be in Detroit. Like, if we think Lagesson's going to be here, is he there?
So then if I was to dismiss Lagesson and just assume that he is with Detroit or he gets pushed through waivers somehow, some way, I would pick Bouillon because of his talent overall. I mean, 2 natty championships right there with Denver. So I think he could do very well in that second spot for sure.
I like Bouillon in the second spot because I have an idea for the right side, but I'm more curious for other thoughts here. Let's go to Travis.
Yeah, I got Bouillon as well. I think Lagesson's the first call up, so I don't think it really matters where he slates on that left side. He'll be the first call up.
Good point.
And then Derek?
For the left side, I mean, William's not a bad choice. I'm more so with just because he's coming in as his first year in the AHL with, what was it, 1 game that he played last year after the championship. So not a lot. So I was thinking more of him as that third, interchangeable back and forth between third and second. But I'll go with the crowd on this one. If I see him in the second pairing, that'd be really nice too. William in the second. Going there.
And Nick, to round it out?
You can put the boom right there in that second spot. I do like what Derek said, though, is like I could see him being that third pair, kind of interchangeable, because you saw Volley for his first year, he was third line pair. He was more in a sheltered role, so I could see Bouillon being there. But I think you kind of have to put on trial by fire with this guy.
We also saw that with Albert Johansson in his first year, too. He was sheltered in the third pairing, so that it very well could be a possibility this year. To see Bouillon playing there, but I think his skill set's going to push him to that second pairing pretty quick if that's where he started. But opening night for funsies, he's on that second pairing. Who's on the right side now? Let's go to Derek first on this one.
Well, for who I had going in that pairing, probably be Rafferty, just because of his production and what he can actually do on the second line. I did, with Bouillon being there now, I kind of want more of like a veteran presence almost, or try to give him a little bit more of a kick forward. But like we said, he's probably going to be more interchangeable back and forth, so it really doesn't matter who you would probably pair him with right away. So I'd probably still go with Rafferty on that one.
I-90 Raff. All right. What do you got, Travis?
I was thinking Didier myself.
Ooh, okay.
Some leadership to go with a young player. I mean, Rafferty's, again, he could fit in just as well. I mean, I just think having your team captain on your right side as a partner does a lot for a young player.
Okay. Nick?
So this guy that I have going in there had a reclamation project last year, and that project didn't work out for the organization with Jared McIsaac, and seeing him shipped off. I also put I-94 Rafferty there.
Oh, God, Zach?
I'm going to have to go with Travis on this. That's no diss to Rafferty. I think the fact that if that is Bouillon right there on the left side, I think having that veteran leadership and the guy that can protect him if he does get smeared into the boards or open ice hit, right, then you at least have your veteran captain to go out there and stick up for him, right, and showcase like, hey, let's do this, boys, So I'm gonna go with Didier.
Oh, this I don't like being the tiebreaker here. That's not what I intended.
You set yourself up for that, though.
But honestly, though, the part with the second and third pairing in Grand Rapids is they could alternate back and forth so easily. Like, this is going to be the toughest job that the coaches have this year, is picking the bottom 4D in this team, because they're all so interchangeable. Like, Dello is another guy he's another veteran player who can produce. He's a good stay-at-home defenseman. Didier is a good stay-at-home defenseman. Rafferty has the offensive upside. William also has the offensive upside. I would rather a stay-at-home guy be with him. I think I got to break the tiebreaker with the captain and go with Didier. Yeah, Stids.
And this doesn't rule out like an 11-7 either, because that would change.
That's Dan's favorite thing to do too.
It is. He's so used to having that off line with being in the ECHL for so long that 11-7 worked real well for them last year.
When you think of the offensive upside of a guy like Bouillon, a guy like Rafferty, a guy like Wally, a guy like 2-0, and you're running an 11-7, oh my God. I get to see every time I start talking about it, I just get more and more excited for the season to start. Anyways, third line forwards. Let's dive into the boys there. This is going to be a fun one, the grind line for this team, essentially. And I think it might all be in agreement on this one, but I'm curious. So let's go to Travis first. For the wingers, sorry.
I would go Gettinger, and I would go, this might be a little bit of a shocker, but I could see either Shine or Hunter on the third line, just for size.
Okay. Let's go to Zach next.
Yeah, I think if you're going, if that's the plan, you want to go, complete just shut down. Yeah, I would have to agree. It's probably Gettinger and Shine for me. Then you can swap in Hunter in there as well. But I am very curious to call me Curious George if you will, but I would love to see someone like Cross, Ammo, or Doucette fill in that spot, just so that way they have someone with a little more scoring potential, I guess you could say.
I like that you said that, because I wanted to see Ammo tossed in the wing a couple times just to see what could happen. I think something really fun could happen there. I'm not saying he's a bad center by any means, but I think something magical could happen if they throw him in there and just let him free, especially with his speed. My God.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, what do you got?
A winger if he ever gets to Detroit. I think
I agree with that statement. Actually, that's a take that I will agree with. Nick, what do you got?
So I'm thinking Gettinger and Shine, and this is where I was not happy about the center spot for Dries going to that second spot, because Dries is more of a checking forward, and that's where I was kind of putting him, and with Nate at that second spot. So that's kind of how I saw that third line rolling.
I see why you'd be unhappy with that, but Derek, what do you got?
But majority rules.
So sorry, Nick, for your unhappiness there, but I'm not going off the beaten path too much. Gettinger, because obviously I want that big boy presence down there, and probably go with Shine on the side just because he's got that production. It'll be a good third line support. And especially if you have someone like, you say, Nate Danielson there, he'll have somebody to feed that puck to all day long. So wouldn't be terrible.
And that could be super beneficial for those wingers too, if you did put Nate in that center spot. And Nate could also learn from them to help protect himself and be a little more scrappy and be an overall player. Sorry to cut you off there, Brandon.
Nope, you're good. You took the words out of my mouth. These two wingers could teach Nate Danielson some grit and a little bit more personality on ice at the same time, but also Shine has the offensive upside when he's paired with a good center. We've seen it. We saw him bump to the first line a lot last year. When he's with a good center, he can score. Gettinger obviously can produce offensively. This third line defensively could be incredible for shutdown, but also has offensive upside that I don't think any third pairing in the AHL is going to have. And this is where I start to get more excited about our team. I know we lost a lot of offensive power when you're looking at the names we're going through here. And there's a lot of young guys stepping in here and some new guys, new faces too. But the lines are built right. The offensive upside is going to be huge. But this is a solid third line if I'm going into the season with this. I'm happy with this.
Do you know the beautiful thing about being a sports fan? There's only 2 days the whole year without a game. 2, with so much happening and so much action, that makes just about every day game day at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. It really couldn't be any easier, any simpler. Currently, the Detroit Red Wings are a plus 4,000 to win the Stanley Cup for next year. And if you're new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369. In Connecticut, help available for problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Will Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. cdkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe you never skip leg day or therapy day. When your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It just isn't for those who have experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched up with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN.
Let's wrap up the defenseman here real quick. Let's go with the left D, third pairing. This is going to be an interesting one. It's a Vero, right? Are we all in agreement?
Yeah,
I think so.
He needs to get some games this year. He needs to show some progress, or he might not be with the organization for much longer.
And correct
This
me
is
if
Vero's prove it year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was he just like a healthy scratch pretty much throughout the whole entire year last year?
Not the
No,
whole
he
year.
battled injury a lot too.
Okay.
But when he played, he played well.
Yeah, and he also battled injury the year before too, so that is a little bit of concern there. He did spend some time with Toledo the year before. We kept saying he needed to go to Toledo again this year to really get himself back going because he played very well down there. The Walleye fans love him, but yeah, this is his prove it year, 100%. Then the right side, I'm pretty sure this answer is Rafferty, but unless anyone has a case for Troy Dello to take that spot, let me know.
I was kind of surprised you went Vero with Lagesson still being there personally, but it's just me. I see what your point is, but I just feel like you have a guy that is going to be, in my opinion, probably your first call up on defense with Lagesson if they get into injury trouble. Because, I mean, I don't really see any of the other guys being forced into a situation. And Lagesson could also, he could sit in the press box if they needed him to in Detroit. That's my only case against Vero, but
I like that case. I still think he'll be in the press box in Detroit over playing games in Grand Rapids, but I don't know. He's such an odd one. It was such a shocking signing by Steve Yzerman that I didn't really understand with the depth we have. But again, I'm not the GM. I don't know what's going to happen. There could be a trade at 2 a.m. tonight for all we know.
Please, that gives us something to talk about.
I mean, Travis, if I'm looking at it big picture with Lagesson and Grand Rapids, I'm probably bumping Wally down to the second pairing, Lagesson first pairing, and then William to the third pairing and Vero sitting out.
I see that.
Yeah, I just think opening night, I think you're not going to see the full. I don't think the Detroit structure, I don't think we're going to know what it's going to look like with who's going to be actually from Detroit and Grand Rapids this year, who will clear waivers by then, all that stuff. I could see Lagesson in the press box in Detroit on opening night that Thursday, not in Grand Rapids opening night that Friday.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thoughts. But on the right side, though, it's Rafferty, right?
Yeah. Rafferty.
Yeah. Which is crazy to think that Raff would be a third pairing defenseman going into the season when he rode that second pairing and was the call up last season.
Yeah, I do want to touch on something real quick, and just maybe this will resonate with the viewers or the listeners and the viewers too. Just because we have Vero and Rafferty down there does not mean that they're, just because it's set up that way, it doesn't mean that they can't get more minutes, right? Like they're not secluded to only getting 16 minutes or 17 minutes, right? There are going to be games where they get bumped up because of matchup opportunities. So this is no knack, like I said earlier, to any of these players that are being bumped down. But looking at it now, this team is pretty stacked. I mean, you guys can probably attest to that looking at other teams in the AHL. Is there really other teams that are this stacked in terms of like young, fresh talent?
I mean, Coachella, but that's about it. Yeah, it's in like Travis hit on it perfectly earlier too with the 11-7 aspect with Grand Rapids. We see it a ton down here. So you're talking a seventh defenseman of a Troy Dello or William Lagesson. Okay, I'm not mad about that either. So I think this, as the season goes on, this group that we have in front of us will change dramatically. But if I'm trying to write the roster for opening night to start the season, because Grand Rapids doesn't do preseason, this is the closest we'll get to it. But watch Dan Watson go 11-7 opening night. I could feel it.
Nobody would be shocked.
No, not at all. And now let's dive into the last pairing for the forwards here. The fourth line. What are we thinking for wingers? I'm going to send it to Nick first.
For wingers, I'm going to put Cross Sanis. I'm going to let him have his redemption year this year. And I'm putting, this is going to be a surprise for you, but I'm going to put Gabriel Singer. And there's a strategic reason why I'm putting him there.
Okay. Want to elaborate on the strategic reason, or?
He also played, I don't know. Are you interested?
I am.
He plays center as well. So if we do get Chase off in the face-off circle, he is a fantastic face-off guy. So I could see them, being able to play him and the center. I'm putting Ammo as the fourth line center.
Okay.
In this situation. So,
Derek, what do you got for the wingers on the fourth line?
Wow, you probably should have went me last because I am no different from Nick. He literally stole every word out of my mouth, minus the Seeker a little introduction there. Did not know he was good at center, so I even like that more now. But yeah, Cross, Ammo, Seeker going right across the board there.
All right. Zach, what do you got?
Yeah, I think you're gonna put Cross in there. Granted, he may not have had the greatest season last year. However, he still played, right? So he has the knowledge, and I think that could definitely facilitate whoever you're putting there in the 4C. I just like the experience that he's got. So yeah, kind of a redemption thing. Honestly, I think you're probably gonna have to. I would choose Hunter, I guess. Really, no specific reason. I just like the name Hunter.
I did enjoy him last year. Yeah, no, I got you. Trav, what do you got?
I got Cross on the left side, Ammo at center, and Hunter on the right side, because this is mainly why when they did all the prospects were in Detroit right after the draft, I forget what they call that. I sent you the picture, Brandon. I was like, who is this man on the ice? And I said, is it the guy that joined late in the season? You're like, yeah, it's Hunter. I said, he looks like he's 10 years older than all these other guys. So I just think to have some size on the right side of that line to kind of go along with Ammo and Cross would be beneficial for both of them.
I mean, Sager's 6'4".
I don't really know a ton about him.
Yeah.
But...
And Hunter is 26.
Yeah, he's got a beard. He's a full man.
That is a full-grown man.
Yeah, to your point, Travis, that thing that you were talking about, I don't know why I can't think of it in my head. It's basically like the after draft prospect
camp
thing. Yeah, camp. Yeah, Hunter looked really good in that. Honestly, I can't remember. I think he scored plenty of goals. He looked really good out there. So I take back what I said. I'm not choosing him just for his name. He looked pretty good out there. So I think that's a good selection for the right wing or left wing.
Man, it's rare that I have the hottest take out of anyone when it comes to these lines or anything that we do on this show. Because I have Hunter. I have Hunter at left wing. I have Seager on the right side there. I have Ammo at center. I have Cross and Toledo.
I could see that though. I mean, same thing with Doucette.
No, I think the so it depends on how his training camp goes and any preseason time he gets. But I think to find his game, because he battled that severe injury his rookie year in Grand Rapids when he started to light it up, and then he couldn't find his game after that. He came in last year. He'd find his game in like the first 5 minutes of a game, and then it would fall apart pretty quickly. Defensively, it was a liability. Nick and I would look at each other a lot, kind of wondering what he's doing. And I was the biggest Cross fan. Like, I was like, this kid's going to go do something special, especially when he started tearing it up. Nick would give me crap for it all the time.
I still do.
Yep, he does. And I've watched the decline, and it's not anything against the player or the person. I just think he needs that boost to find his game. And to see someone like him possibly end up in Toledo, I think would be the perfect spot to go find that game. It's not as a punishment. It's go play for the Walleye for a little bit to start the season. Go have fun, find your game, light it up with some incredibly talented players down there. We'll get you back up here and then see what we can do. I think that's my hot take on Cross Hannes going into this year. So I think a fourth line of Ammo, Hunter, and Seager was a ridiculous fourth line. It's absolutely ridiculous. And Ammo is going to be surrounded by guys that will protect him, but also continue to teach him how to protect the puck and protect himself out there, which he called out as something that he wants to continue working on a lot going into this season. So that is who I have out there. I know I'm the odd man out on that, so I will put Cross in the lineup since I didn't have the majority vote, but that's what I had there.
I mean, I would follow suit with you. Honestly, I probably wouldn't even put Cross up there myself. I think you made a really good point that it's probably better for him to go down to Toledo. So I'd probably take Cross out, but the majority, I guess. What do you guys think? I think it might be better to put Hunter there.
You know what? MBN's going to blow up. Throw him in there. Yeah,
MBN top line.
I have wild, and I've told Brandon and Nick this, I have like a wild theory that if he does come to camp, he might not leave Michigan. Like, there's a very good chance, just with how well he's already started the 2 SHL preseason games, and then the 2 is international, like their Olympic qualifiers or whatever. He looks head and shoulders above a lot of players on the ice, and that shot is something that this organization is a shot first winger that's willing to shoot the puck from anywhere.
Yeah, we said, I said, I'm going to make the claim because it was me. I don't want to put anyone else in trouble on our podcast, that I firmly believe that there could be an opportunity for someone like Michael brandsegg-nygård to be a 40 goal scorer. And someone actually called me out in the comments for it. And I was like, all right, well, let's see. A lot of people didn't believe, and I keep on sharing that clip of Weissman saying, oh yeah, he can really rip it. For sure. So I'm right there with you, Travis. And that's why I'm like, I don't foresee if he's going to stay in North America. I think it's with the Detroit Red Wings, personally, for me.
I can see that.
I 100% could see it. And I just love that. I love that you keep sharing that clip because I got excited about that pick going like, he's got something there, just doing a little bit of research. I'm like, I see why Steve did this. It is a safe pick, whatever. But that shot, seeing it in action now after he's been drafted, oh my God. And I'm so excited for this player.
And it's not just a shot. I mean, that very first goal that we saw him score in preseason with his team in the SHL, that shift overall, he was knocking bodies down too. He's not a small kid. He's pretty stocky. Like, I like to call him bowl of oatmeal because he's super thick, right? I mean, he's over 200 pounds, I believe, if not close to it. He's bigger than Nate Daniels, and he's younger, and he's got that lethal shot. So I think that there is an opportunity for him. Out of looking at these players on here, would you guys argue with me if do you guys think MBN has a better shot than Mazur, or I'm just going to call him Rich because Jakob?
Yeah. I mean, I like that take. I think MBN does have a chance, and it's going to make things interesting. I mean, putting a roster together just like this so far has been the hardest thing in my head I've had to do in a long time when it comes to these teams. And even I can't wait till we do the Red Wings one too, because I'm sure that's just going to be off the walls. But like, if one of these kids comes in here and makes a name for himself quick and forces a decision to be made, it's going to be a tough choice. So I hope if he does, they give him the opportunity and they don't just play it safe. I think it's time to start shooting from the hip and see what wild things we can make happen. But again, I'm not the GM, so I don't get to make cool decisions like that.
I think if MBN's in, Berggren's out.
Oh, save the hot takes here. Holy smokes.
Wow. Wait for our show, buddy.
He's kidding.
I like it.
Actually, no.
Something really well.
I never heard that one yet, but that is.
Because who else is he going to take a spot from? Like, let's be real here. I mean, like, he is a shot first winger. He's shown that he can be better defensively than what Berggren's been mostly. Now, Berggren, offensive upside playmaker. Okay, Detroit has a lot of playmakers. We need some shot first guys, and I think it's like one of those two. If one's here, one's not. That's just my opinion.
There's a reason why they got a Tarasenko, right?
Yeah.
I think that's partially because of Berggren. They saw that, right? So I'm right there with you a little bit, Travis, for sure.
Just an opinion.
No, I like it. But I have a hot take segment for this episode. So we're going to move on to the goalies real quick and then wrap the whole thing up with some takes on this roster here. So goalies, obviously, I think we know who they are, but I want to know, who do we think is going to be the starter at the beginning of this season in Grand Rapids? Is it Jack Campbell or is it Sebastian Cossa? And Zach, I see you pointing at Lucas Raymond.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to point to Travis's jersey that I noticed earlier. It's 100% got to be Cossa. I can't imagine it being anyone else. That's technically going to be. I mean, you can make the argument for these other guys, like especially Jack Campbell, but I really think that Cossa has to take the reins, right? I think day one he has to be the starter, and that should be his ultimate goal: is win a bunch of games and then hopefully get that call up. But the Red Wings also have like 4 goaltenders themselves, so it's going to be really difficult. But I want to see him play, like, obviously not the full season, but a really good chunk of those games. So that's my pick.
Derek, I know you're a Sebastian Cossa fanboy just like myself, so I'm going to assume that's your answer, but I don't want to assume things.
It's pretty easy at this point.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Cossa. Travis?
Oh, it's Coast. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but what's the total games in a season for the American League? I don't know that answer. Is it in the 70s?
72, I believe. I'm going to get completely lit up if I got that wrong, but I believe it's 72.
I believe you're correct as well.
I mean, I think you could see a world where Cossa starts like 50-ish games.
It's a lot, but I think that's doable, and that's what you're looking for him to do, to see if he can do that in the NHL.
It's, you want to. He had a year last year, kind of like how he did in Toledo. It was, once he found that extreme confidence, it oozed, and he was unbeatable for quite a while. Now it's like, okay, you've established that you're here. Can we get you to here? And I think the way to get him there is more starts. Now, the good thing about this is you have a former first-round pick, Jack Campbell, showed in the American League last year he can play. He's not, I mean, the Edmonton experiment, it just didn't work. So I don't think it's 50-50. I think Costa's going to edge him out a little more.
Nick?
We played Milwaukee that's the home opener. We play against Milwaukee. Yep. And Jack Campbell, do you guys know where he's from?
Michigan, right?
Not Milwaukee. Yeah, he's from Michigan. I mean, honestly, like, I don't know. Dan's been weird with goalies, right? Like, we thought he would start. I don't think Coast started the first game of the season last year. There were games that were like, he's going to start Coast this one. And he didn't. He kind of waited. So, like, I could see, like, I think it is Coast. Like, but to just throw a different perspective out there, like, Soupy could do it. Like, he could come in and he could be the game one just to take the nerves, the anxiety, the stress off of Coast. I could see him being the first one.
I think there's more nerves and anxiety for him to come in, assigned to this team. The unknown is gone for him, right? He knows where he's going to be for a full season, but now he's got to come in here and, like, this is his chance to maybe end up with another team after his year with Grand Rapids or 2 years, whatever it is. I think he's got a lot of pressure on himself this year to go out there and do something to show that he's still a good goaltender to the rest of the world. I think it is Coast opening night at home. If the home opener was away, I could see an argument for Jack Campbell to start, sure. But being at home, we're going to hear Eric Zane say the big fella as he's going to the net. He's starting 100%. Yeah. And obviously we had Jan Bednar on this list too, but we know where he's going to be this season. He'll be in Toledo.
Chances maybe Husso is down here.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to even say about Husso.
He didn't enjoy his time when he was here.
That'd be a crazy AHL goalie lineup right there. That's for sure.
Listen, this organization is in just this absolute weird scenario with goaltenders. There's 8 goalies for 2 nets and 6 positions.
Well, I was thinking about this morning, actually, and I was like, this is still just wild to me how many goalies we have. But then, I remember you see it all the time in minor leagues. you'll see players get loaned from another team to another organization for the season and still get playing time. And like you look at guys like Gage Alexander and Carter Gylander, even if he doesn't end up in Toledo with Bednar, which we kind of assume is going to happen, but that'll be a future episode when we talk about Toledo's roster. But those guys could get loaned out to other teams too and still get playing time and still using all these goaltenders all season long. Like these guys would all get playing time in important games, just maybe with other organizations. We don't know what that could shake out as. So I don't know. Yeah, it's going to get interesting.
Look at Jordan Binnington the year they won the cup.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He's a perfect case for that. So, well, this is our built roster so far, but I want to give each one of us an opportunity to just make a change. If you could change one thing on this roster to favor more of what your opinion was, what would you change? I'm going to start with Derek and work my way back up the video lineup here. So, Derek, what's one thing you would change about this roster?
Besides making the third line the ungodly behemoth that it could be, I know it probably won't work out that way that well, but I just want to physically see that line on the ice against the other team's line, just so we can see the height difference. Like we're up here, they're down there. I just want to laugh a little. But in general, I'm not upset with this. If MBN could make a little slot jump in there, I don't want to see him in a bottom pairing, but I would most likely we probably would see him in a top pairing if he was able to make the team. But in that same case, I want to see somebody as in like Mazur maybe getting pushed up into the actual show itself. So, but we're going off of what we have right here. I really don't see too many changes to the line. It's a pretty good lineup.
All right. Zach, what about you?
I think the only thing, I mean, kind of following with Derek, I guess it really just depends how badly NBN wanted to be in North America. So put him in here, maybe on Detroit, but currently the way it's constructed, Nate has a really good chance of making the Detroit roster. He was so close last season. I think that they slightly made a mistake not putting him there. So that would be my only difference right there. And then you just kind of pick between Cross, Doucette, and whoever else that you have left, right, to fill in. And then just like how Travis said, do the 11-7 if that's the case. You know, you don't have Nate. He's up in Detroit. That would be my difference right there.
All right. And then Travis?
I'd bump Vero out, boot him down, Wallander down, and put Lagesson in.
Yeah. I think we're all in agreement on that one there. That makes sense if he's in Grand Rapids. 100%.
If he's here.
100%. Yeah, exactly. Nick?
I'm moving the centers. I'm moving Nate to first line, Kasper's second, and Dreisaitl third. That's what would make me happy out of what we got here. I understand the take for Lagesson, to be honest, but being there, because jumping like the volley up to the top might be a big step for him, but I like that. And I don't think MBN's coming to I think he skips Grand Rapids completely. I think he goes straight to Detroit if he's going to get moved up.
I agree with the MBN take. I understand the want to put Nate on the first line center. After watching how Dan Watson's coached this team in 1 year, though, he does not hand anybody a position. They have to come in here and earn it. And if I base the performance that I saw last year with Grand Rapids and what my opinion would be putting him in this year, yeah, he's going third line center and he's got to earn that spot. He'll earn it quickly. Like it'll probably be a three-week experiment before he's even on the first line. But the thing I like the most about our roster is that, except for the fourth line, any one of these three could be our top line.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to play against them, but that's because I suck at hockey now. So.
Yeah. I don't think I would change anything with this. I'm in the same spot as Derek here. I like this lineup. It excites me as a lifelong Griffins fan to see the talent that this team suddenly has here again. This is a potential championship roster. I will say that this early on. This is a potential championship roster. They should dominate the division this year, especially with some of the guys on other teams that have disappeared. I mean, Sebastian Kosa is now the elite goaltender in the AHL Central Division with the Askarov trade, and we assume that Wallstead will be in Minnesota this year. There's no one else out there, so yeah.
I got an idea.
Ooh.
Just kind of sitting here thinking about it. What I could almost see Gettinger and Rychovsky flipping, because again, you're making a transition from wider ice to more smaller ice. And I could just see a world where you would shelter that a little bit, but again, it's kind of goes back to what all we've said. Like it's flip flop almost anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, for all we know, Shine could be on the first line opening night.
I
You'd
could
love
see that.
We'd all love that still. We all love that player.
Can we just take his name out and put the picture that I love so much in replacement?
I'll have to do that post edit for you, Travis, but I got you. I got you. Well, I think that's it, boys. I think we've got the roster set. Any other hot takes we want to throw out there when it comes to this roster before we wrap this up?
I think the real roster will not be anything close to this. That's my hot take.
I think you're right, honestly. There's so much unknown at this point in time. It is our too early to call predictions here, but you know.
Who leads the team in scoring and goals, I guess is
Ooh. Oh, why do you do that to me?
I don't know. We're just talking here. Something I thought of.
I think the Wheaton's took their leading goal scorer, so
Yeah.
Me personally, Travis, to answer that question, I think it would come down to Mazer or Rich over there, to be honest. I think out of everyone, those two probably have the best shots on the team. Personally, for me, I mean, you guys can definitely tell me if someone else does, but looking at it, I mean, that's probably who I would lean on is those two. And I don't know how many goals, but I think it would be between those two.
Hot take, it's Amadeus Lombardi. No. I think he is going to have a massive season this year. I think, your take of Mazer and Jacob there, I think that makes sense.
I'm going with Casper.
Ooh.
Two goals the other night, right? A game-winning goal. I think he started slow, but picked up right around Christmas. That Texas series went on for a tear. I think you see him have a big season this year.
I like that. Derek?
it was Mazer last year coming in second behind Bergeron with 37 points and 17 goals. So obviously I'm just going to stick with the same guy that was second last year. It's going to be first this year.
I like that. I like it. Trav, did you give your opinion or did I already forget about it?
I didn't say who.
You got
Something tells me Mazer's going to end up in Detroit by the end of the year, just with injuries. I think Elmer's in for a big year. I really do. I think it's not time to give up on this prospect. I think it's just, I think if he comes in and knows where he's going to be, he's healthy. You've seen what him at a healthy level could do it for minor points of the season last year. And I just think he's due to have a big year. So I think Elmer's going to have a big year. And he can do it. He's shown it. So I think he takes a big step.
God, I would love that so much. I still just think back to the one shift in the playoffs last year where I literally watched him go hit one guy, hit the next guy, all within about 30 seconds, and then gets a scoring chance out of it. Like, if he plays like that, he's going to have a Tage Thompson-like year, I think, this year. I think I could see it. I could see it coming to reality.
I would place Elmer under the category of not breakout, but the comeback player of the year for this team, because this is a player who started 2 years ago with the Detroit Red Wings, and you guys alluded to it where he then went back to Grand Rapids and he didn't look very happy, and I think he wants to get back there. So he's probably got a chip on his shoulder, and based on the way he played towards the end and in the playoffs, like you guys are saying, I think he's going to be the comeback player this year for GRG for sure.
Yeah, I like that.
Almost half a point per game, or so 13 goals, 16 assists, 29 points in 61 games. So
yeah, no, I do agree with that. I think I'm a big fan of that one. So with that, does anyone else have anything to add to this before we wrap this up? I think it's a good place to wrap.
Overall point total for this team projection?
Oh, man. I don't think I can give an overall point total, but I will say they'll be first in the division at the end of this year.
I can live with that. That's a good enough answer. I'm right there with you. I second that.
Yeah.
Just say high point total.
Yeah, very, very high. Because I'm just trying to, in my head, just thinking through, like, I obviously didn't pay super close attention to all the guys acquired by other teams, but knowing, like, Askarov's out in Milwaukee. There's not really another solid rookie that Nashville has coming through that system this year that is expected to blow the doors down. Logan Stankoven will be in Dallas next year, so Texas won't have him, and they probably won't have, I'm blanking on the other guy's name. Yeah, there's one other guy there that tore it up with him. Maverick Bork, there it is. They probably won't have him either. He'll probably be with the Dallas Stars. And Iowa, dumpster fire. Let's just be real. And Rockford is probably the only other comparable team that could come out there and give us a run for our money. I think it's going to be a battle with them all season. We play them a million times. We play them more than anybody else. They're going to be loaded up with talent that the Blackhawks have drafted over the last few years that they've gotten with their gifted picks from the NHL. So I think it'll be between us two, but I think we'll have the edge there because of the experience that this team does have. Nick, any other differing opinion from that on that?
No, I agree with Rockford. It's been tough with us all year. I don't want to sleep on Milwaukee though. I know Askarov is gone, but they really relied on Grosnick, and I know he's gone as well. So I haven't been able to do enough research on Milwaukee yet to figure out who their goalie is right now, but that'll come from us in a later episode. But I mean, I don't foresee Iowa trying to pass us or being able to pass us. So I think it's going to come down to the top three guys again of Rockford, Milwaukee, and Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I like that. I'm trying to figure out who they even have as goalies in Milwaukee.
Well, they did get a goalie back in that trade.
Yeah.
But I didn't look into them at all.
I mean, you got Texas and Manitoba and Chicago, and like the only thing with Chicago is their agreement came back with Carolina for the affiliation, so it might help them a little bit more. But I don't see big needle movers. But
yeah, I mean, according to Elite Prospects, Connor Ingram's there. That's about the best I can give you.
Yeah, that goalie that they got in that trade, I did look into him. He's actually slated to play in the SHL. He's like 23 years old. He was like a 5th round pick. Didn't really have the greatest numbers, but I think he's playing with Frölunda. So he should be staying there.
Yeah, they're going to be a really interesting team. But
Frölunda?
Yeah. No, Milwaukee. Well, Frölunda, sure, they're always interesting, but we don't really have anyone there anymore, so we don't care about them. We moved on in that relationship. With that, I think that's a good spot to wrap. I cannot thank you guys enough, Zach and Derek, for coming on the show today. I'm so excited to do an episode here with you guys soon as well to talk about the Wings and more stuff there. But thank you guys again. And just remind everyone, where can they find your show?
Yeah, you can find us obviously on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on all your social medias at Hockeytown Rundown. Sometimes it's Hockeytown or just Hockeytown RD sometimes too. But yeah, you can find us on all the socials and everything. So thanks for having us once again. We definitely appreciate it. And we love interacting with you guys, especially with stuff like this. This was a lot of fun. I can't speak for Derek, so I'll leave it on to Derek from here.
We always appreciate it, boys. It was a great time. Doing this stuff is a lot of fun, especially with the minimal knowledge that me and Zach both pertain to the AHL. So thank you guys for all the help that you do for it.
No, that definitely helps us out too, because sometimes people will ask us about like some of the young players, and it's like, well, we know these guys. You should go watch them, right? So you guys do a really good job with Grand Rapids and for Toledo. So we definitely appreciate the services there. So thank you for having us on once again. We're very excited to have you guys on our next episode as well.
We appreciate the kind words as always. Thank you. We try our best, even though we have minimal knowledge to anything we're doing too, trust me. But at the same time, you guys do a fantastic job. We love everything you guys are doing in the show you're putting together over there. It's been fun to watch and kind of grow together at the same time here. It's been a lot of fun for all of us. So thank you again. Of course, as always, thank you to Travis and Nick as well. Thank you to our sponsors, Everything Hockey. Make sure you have everythinghockey.com. Use code WEST to save a few bucks off your order. And of course, our sponsors, DraftKings and BetterHelp and the Hockey Podcast Network for being fantastic partners with us as always. Everybody, have a great week. We will be talking to you soon with more interviews and other fun episodes. But until then, go Griffins, go Walleye.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at BrandonGR Hockey.